Oops, again it is asking me to, let me see what it says. Do I have to? Okay. So my screen is visible for you guys? Oh, fine. So, what is that we have gone through yesterday? We have seen how to deploy an F5 virtual edition LTM appliance on a VMware, and we have also seen how to generate the registration key, and then we have seen how to activate your F5 devices. During that time, we have also seen the provisioning. கரெக்டாக ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது வருவாங்களே. Right. So what I mean to say that yesterday we have seen how to deploy an F5 virtual edition on your VMware, and then we have seen how to initialize and then getting the registration key and activating your device. While we're doing the initial script, that wizard, we have seen how to configure the internal VLAN, external VLAN, and binding the interfaces to that. And we also understood the concept of self IP and floating IP. Then we have seen how to associate the NTP servers, and then we have seen DNS server configuration. Finally, we are done with the wizard configuration. The setup of wizard has been completed. After that, we were in a position to see what is that our configuration options. I'll show you that also. I just started the whatever we have done yesterday. So it is https://192.168.1.6. That's the IP address. That 1.6 or not, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Since I've configured to receive the IP address via DHCP. Okay. After completing the wizard only, I was in a position to see all these options. We have something called the statistics, IAPS, DNS, local traffic, acceleration, and device management. We can have the shared object. That's a new concept got introduced. Network related configurations. Now if I go to the network area, I'll be able to see my self IP. I'll also be in a position to see the interfaces. What is that you understand from 1.1, 1.2, 1.3? This is how the identification of the interfaces are going to be happening. Was there a question? I heard some sound. I'm not sure. Was there a question? Okay. So basically what happens, like in other vendor products, when we have 1/0 or 0/0, in F5 we are identifying them as 1.1, like the module number and followed by the port number. That's how we are identifying. The respective MAC addresses are also we are in a position to see. Self IPs or the actual IPs configured on that respective interfaces. And you can see that 10.1.1.1 and 10.1.1.2, both of them has been associated to internal VLAN. And which interface is associated to interface VLAN? Internal VLAN, which is 1.1. For external VLAN, we have 1.2 associated to it. For HA VLAN, we have associated 1.3. So by default, 0 interface is being associated with the management part of it. So that's how we used to be working on it. Now again, if I go to my command prompt, I could be in a position to see, check it out. ifconfig internal, you can see that what is the IP address associated to it. The same way ifconfig external, that's the VLAN. I could see what is the IP address associated to it. So this is where we stopped. Means we have activated the product and we have completed the wizard, so that the device is ready for proceeding with the further set of configuration. The box is meant for doing something. What is that it will be doing? That's what slowly we are getting into it. Right? So in a couple of slides I missed it yesterday, right? So we didn't go through it because I was directly going through the wizard. Probably you can recollect by seeing those presentations now, and since we have completed that one. So obtain the license, I have explained you from where you have to get it, and then the two different methods of activating the product with the help of the registration key. One, if the F5 box has internet access, all you have to do is enter the registration key, identify the interface which has the internet access, direct connection. Now the F5 box can communicate with the license server, and then the keys can be validated, the device can be activated. Assuming that your F5 box doesn't have the internet access, then the manual method is going to be chosen. While you are going for the manual method, you just need to use a PC which has internet access, from where you can establish the management communication. And then what you can do is you can enter the registration key, and then that is going to be sharing you the dossier. That dossier is going to be entered into your F5 box so that the box can be activated. Now this is how we were trying to access the appliance. What is that? The IP address of your management interface. Then what we have to do is we just need to make sure that the digital certificate, because it is an HTTPS based communication, so the server authentication is mandatory, client authentication is optional most of the time. The server authentication always is going to be done through the help of a digital certificate. That digital certificate has been generated and signed by the F5 device itself, and that's why we used to call it as a self-signed digital certificate. Because the certification authority is not under the trusted list of my management PC, I'm getting this warning message. Since I know that this certificate can be trusted, so I just need to say continue to this website. Then login as admin and password as admin, that's the default one. Until 13.1 this is applicable. 14.1 onwards we just need to reset. In 13.1, yeah, in 14.1 onwards, in 14 version onwards, what you have to do is after you log in as a root administrator, it will be prompting you to reset the password for the root administrator. When you reset the password for the root administrator, it will also reset the password for the admin user. And you have to log in to the device using that administrator. While you're logging in for the first time using the admin user, again it will be asking you to reset the password for the admin user, and then you will be able to log into the F5 LTM device. But still this is applicable. So I just call the IP address of my F5 LTM. I'm just logging in with my username and password, the default username and password. Now this is what the wizard, you remember, this is the part we have seen. Hope you remember this part. Anybody? You don't remember this part? The license activation area? Okay, right. And then activate it. So this is what I'm talking about. The manual option has to be selected. If it is automatic, and make sure that the interface what you are choosing has internet access, then obviously the license server can be communicated. Now if it is manual, then the dossier is going to be used. See, this is the dossier, copy, and then paste it over there on the other side of it, on the F5 license server, and you will get some output, the license server, and that license can be copied and pasted over back to your F5 device. Then it gets activated. So of course the device will be rebooted. Now you will be able to configure the administrative access, navigate within the setup utility wherever you want. See here, see, all you have, this is going to be like what, whichever you choose, whichever the menu you choose, you will be able to see the respective configuration options, and whatever the associated thing, you will be able to get that also. You have policy list and standard strategy list. There are so many things out there, right? So configure administrative information, VLAN and other settings. This is what we have done, you remember, on the wizard part. Now the internal, this is going to be the setup utility. It is asking us to configure the platform properties, and if you would like to take control on anything, yes, you can do that one. The host name is a mandatory configuration. You remember this one? I hope you're remembering that one. What is the meaning of this highlighted? The highlighted portion, the information is mandatory. Without filling in that information, you will not be able to proceed further to the next level, right? It's a mandatory set of information. So once the initial configuration completes, for the network configuration, internal and external VLANs, we will be able to configure it. See here, Once the initial configuration, so the internal network configuration and the external network configuration. You remember this portion? The number of interfaces will be varying. The number of interfaces is purely dependent on the model number and whether you wanted to use those interfaces as a tagged interface or an untagged interface. It purely depends on your infrastructure. Okay, port locked on is for what? Which interface is listening for the self IP address. If you wanted to configure the VLAN tags, yes, you can do that one. Just now I told you that one. Right, so this is how once the setup has been completed, you will get the window. Then from here, you will be able to proceed with the set of configurations. Now, local traffic manager, there are certain variations depending on the version on you're working with. But this is the logic, right? So this is the logic we need to understand. One of the beauty over here is here, the help part of it. Here also you have the same, the main, help and about. Can you see this one? About is about the big IP on the device on which you are working with. This is where you will be working on it. For example, if I choosing something, already I am in self IPs, right? In whichever the page I am in, keep that page and then click on the help. You will get the details of the one. See, name, you can get it. What is that name? What is that application? What is that IP address? What is that net mask? And what is that VLAN? You will get it all these informations. The help is going to be very specific about the page which you were trying to navigate, whichever the page that you have navigated. Let me go to the node list, and then if I go to the help related to this particular tab is what going to be displayed to you. You no need to search on the tab. You understand? You no need to search on your help portion. You understand what I'm saying? So whichever the option you see here, all of them are going to be explained over here. Status, name, description, everything is being displayed to you. So help is going to be one of the finest part in FI appliances. So the same tab, but the tab has been modified. The look and feel of the tab has been modified. Okay, so now we will be able to configure certain things like you can configure virtual server, you can configure pools, nodes, monitor, whatever you want, you will be able to configure it. But slowly, we are just getting into understanding what is a virtual server or how the traffic is going to be processed by your FI and what all the components are required to provision the services, right? So that's what we need to understand. And the next step is what? We just need to back up the configuration. Of course, you know the importance of doing the backing up the configuration. If in case something goes wrong, you will be able to restore this, and we will see the demonstration of this later, because we just need to do certain configurations first, and then we will take the backup of the configuration so that it will be helpful for us to restore it even if something goes wrong or we messed up with the configuration. Right, so I already told you these concepts of provisioning and all. What is that provisioning? The resource provisioning. We have seen a couple of options. What is that? Nominal, dedicated, optimal. You remember? So we those kind of a provisioning, like based on that, the resources for that particular module is going to be happening. And what is the operating system we were having? There are two different operating systems within your FI. One is your Linux based. The other one is what? TMOS. The TMOS is going to be the operating system which is responsible for managing the traffic. Of course, there is a specialized chip which is available within it. We call that as a microkernel, which is TMM. TMM stands for what? Traffic Management Microkernel. And that microkernel takes the responsibility of handling the traffic, right? Can I log into TMOS and then do certain kind of configuration? Yes, you can very well do it. TMOS, Traffic Manager Operating System. TMOS. T as in traffic, M for management, OS is an operating system. That's all. Yeah, so you can see this is how the resource provisioning. You remember, I don't need to take much of time on this so that we can move on to the next topic. You remember this portion? So nominal, dedicated, minimum, and also a so-called none. That means what? That even though the product has been licensed, we are not planning to allocate any resources, which means what? I'm not going to be using that module at all. That's the logic behind it, the system provisioning. Even if you would like to modify this one later on, yes, you can do that one. It is not a problem at all you have to do is get into the system and then resource provisioning. See here, if I go to the system and then check it out, resource provisioning. So this is the resource provisioning. Later on, if you wanted to modify anything, initially I gave it as a nominal, but I would like to change it to minimum. I could do that one, or I can also go and change this one dedicated. It is also quite possible that if you wanted to rerun the setup utility, it is quite possible. All you have to do is, where do I go and run the setup utility? You could see anywhere that option may not be visible for you. All you have to do is click on this F5 icon. It will take you through that utility. Can you see this one, setup utility somewhere? Can you see this? If I click this run the setup utility, I'll be able to rerun that setup utility. I can modify the configurations of this device anywhere I want. So individually, if you would like to modify anything, you can. If you wanted to run the setup utility, yes, you can do that one also. Hope you understand what I'm saying. So that's what all about. So this model numbers are going to be varying. Okay, so now we are working with the 16 version of operating system also. Now this presentation is focusing on maximum of 10. Okay, anyway, now let me move on to the other presentation. It will make more sense for us now. Okay, any questions as of now? Any questions? Right. Now the key components is what we are trying to understand in this presentation, like what are all the bare minimum configurations and how the traffic is going to be handled. If the traffic needs to be handled by your FI LTM device, what are all the mandatory components that you have to configure? After you configure, when the packet is received, how that packet is going to be processed. This is what the logic we are going to be getting. And then we will move on to the configuration part, where we will be able to build the same kind of a setup over there as well. Now, the terms we are going to be understanding first, and then we will get into the processing traffic, and we are going to be configuring the pools and virtual servers. Now, first of all, let's try to understand the terminologies. We are going to be understanding something called as node, pool member, pool, virtual server. Okay, let's try to understand this one using a whiteboard. Oops, I don't have a sketchbook. 1 minute, let me install that sketchbook. I have cleared all my settings from my machine yesterday. I tried in recollecting all of them, but I have missed a couple of things also. Where is my app store? Not sure this can be downloaded from here. It will take a couple of minutes. Okay. Right. So what is that we are planning to do here is, let's understand the components of it. What and all we need. See, we have an F5 appliance, right? So this is where I have my F5 appliance. What it is meant for, basically it is going to be distributing the load which is received from the clients towards the internal servers. So basically what I'm trying to do is, I'm just having couple of servers. Is that okay to keep one single server and then F5 would be in a position to do the distribution of the traffic? F5 can do it, but why would you need an F5 when you have a single server to handle all the traffic? Let's say, what is that? Atos.com. Let's assume this is the website we have. Yes. Who? Tua. I'm sorry, but I didn't get. Robin already he joined. I don't know how come he left. Robin is already there. Ranita is not there. Ranita joined, right? Not sure. Okay. Only one person is showing, ma. I don't know. Right. See, what is the purpose of FI? FI is going to be taking the responsibility of collecting the traffic from the client PCs, and then it will be directed to the servers which are available with me. So, what is my point is, if I'm going to be having a single server, do I need an FI? Probably no, because the purpose of FI is going to be it has the ability of intelligently redirecting the traffic to multiple servers and getting the responses and giving back to your clients. When I have a single server, the FI may not be efficient enough because all of the requests which is coming from your external clients is going to be sent to a single server, which can be achieved even without the FI also. So first of all, I need to have couple of servers. Now these servers could be running with multiple services or with one single service also. I think I'm getting one more notification with respect to joining. Jashwant is joining. So what I mean to say this, when I have multiple servers internally, I would like to form them as a cluster, and there will be a cluster IP to which the request is going to be forwarded. Now, depending on the load balancing algorithm, I'm talking about the plain old cluster, depending on the load balancing algorithm, the request is going to be forwarded to one of the server which is part of the same cluster. Same way, assume that FI is going to be considered as your cluster IP or the cluster handling device. Now what happens is, we have the external network from where the request can be received by FI. Now, to which of the IP the people who got connected to the internet would be sending the traffic to? Let's assume that atos.com is the website these users are trying to access. This atos.com is going to be resolved to an IP address. That IP address would be a public IP address, and you will be able to reach that IP address over the internet. Somehow the packet will come to your FI. Now the FI has the responsibility. I least bothered about the routing on the internet. Somehow the packet will come to your FI device. Now FI device takes the responsibility of collecting the request from the client, and then according to certain intelligence what we have fed to the device, the traffic is going to be redirected to the respective servers. Of course, I have multiple servers. One of the server will be chosen based on the load or based on the response time or based on the freeness. It purely depends. We will see those things later. So the request is coming from external world. Now the FI receives it. Now the FI received traffic is going to be forwarded to one of the server. So the FI needs to know a couple of informations. What is that? Which are all the servers I have, and what are all the services for which I would like to distribute the load, and what is the listening IP. That means to which IP I might be receiving the traffic from the external world, to which of the services I need to forward. So what are all the services I'm just managing, where those services are running. You understand the logic? So I have servers, I have services, I also have the listener. Listener is the IP on which your FI device continuously, or is that okay now? Is that audible now? Or else wait, I'll connect to through the phone as well. Same way as how we did yesterday. Give me a minute, I'll connect. Am I audible? Right. So what is that I was trying to explain you here is, FI needs to know to which IP address he might be receiving the traffic, and that IP address is what I'm calling it as a listening IP address, right? I think somebody is there. Okay. So that IP address is what your listening IP address. On that particular IP address, the FI is going to be listening to it. Upon receiving any traffic on that listening IP address, it has to be sent to one of the server. So we are identifying the services, and then the respective service should be running on the server, and that server identification is also going to be happening. So the FI should know three set of information. One, which are all the servers are available, what are all the services are available, and all these services are running on which are all the servers. Then the third one is the listening IP address on which the traffic can be received. So FI has certain terminologies to identify them. Let's say it. See here. Now let's say this is my physical server, right? The physical servers are going to be identified and reachable through the help of an IP address. FI calls that as a node. You understand what I'm saying? Node is nothing but the actual IP address on which the server is reachable. Is that clear? So I have node 1, node 2, then node 3. Multiple nodes are there. Am I audible? Hello? Okay. So there is something called as what? Nodes. These nodes are going to be identified through the help of the IP addresses. As long as the FI can reach those IP addresses, that can be referred as a node. Then what is the services? Typically FI is going to be identifying the services which are running on the node, and those services is what I'm managing. Assuming that atos.com, a web server is running. Let's say that this is going to be running on TCP/IP. Probably on the same server we might be having an FTP service also. Let's assume like that. Okay. Now, if I identify the server only using the node, which is nothing but an IP address, is that possible to distribute the load across different services? It's not possible. You understand? So basically, node is a plain IP address of the device on which certain services could be running. Now then, the services are going to be identified as a pool member. Now, why we are calling it as a pool member? Because this member is going to be part of a pool of nodes. You understand? So, pool member is part of a pool. A pool member is nothing but an IP address plus the port number on which the service is running. You're getting my point? Is that clear? So, node is simply an IP address. Pool member is the IP address plus the service. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Okay. Then the listener is going to be identified as a virtual server. The virtual server is the listener IP. And virtual server is also the IP address plus a port number. I'll tell you how this is going to be working on it. So just now we are trying to understand the terminologies. Couple of terminologies is what I have explained you. Terminology number 1 is what? The term 1, node, then the pool member, and then the virtual server. Now let's put all of them together and then try to understand this one. Right. See, I have an FI device. Now this FI device should be receiving the traffic, and this needs to be distributed to one of the server which is there in my internal network. First thing, what all the servers are available, that is what I'm identifying. Like say, I might have 10 servers or 20 servers, and they are going to be identified with an IP address. Let's say 10.1.1.10, then 10.1.1.20, 10.1.1.30, and this is where I have my atos.com service is running, a website is running. I'm also having couple of other servers, dedicated servers I'm running. Okay, it's quite possible the same website could be running on the multiple websites can be running on the same server. Just for our understanding, I'm just going for a dedicated servers. Now this is going to be like 10.1.2.10, 10.1.2.30, sorry, let it be 10.1.2.20. Like I have three more servers over here. Here I have Network Labs or netlabs.in. This is the website that is hosted on these servers. You understand now? Now, see, all of these servers are going to be servicing atos.com. Which one? These three servers. These three servers are going to be servicing for netlabs.in website. Now, basically what we are trying to say, this is a group of server which are responsible for responding for atos.com. The same way, these three servers are responsible for responding for netlabs.in. Maybe com or in, I'm not sure. Right. My point is, now all these servers are going to be identified in a group. Now that's why we call this as a pool of servers. You understand what I'm saying? Now when I say pool, the pool member will be identified, let's say 10.1.1.10 running on port number 80, listening on port number 80, 10.1.1.20 listening on port number 80. So 10.1.1.30 listening on port number 80. So these are all the members of this particular pool of servers on which atos.com service is running. Till this point is clear or not? Any questions? Oh. So members of the pool are going to be identified by the node IP address and the service which is running on them. So along with the port number, we identify them as a pool member. Right? Pool is nothing but the list of IP addresses on which this service is running, which I'm going to be managing. Do you understand that? Okay. Now netlabs.in is another pool, right? The members of that pool are going to be 10.1.2.10 on port number 80. Same way 10.1.2.20 port number 80. Then 10.1.2.30 port number, what is that? I call this as what? 80. Now the pools are ready. That means if any traffic is sent to this pool, one of the member could handle it. Same way, if the traffic is given to this pool, one of the member can handle it. Now F5 takes the responsibility of collecting the traffic from the front end client, means the end clients, and then it is going to be forwarded to the respective pool. How F5 can differentiate that? That's the point, right? Now that is where the listeners comes into picture. We are calling it as virtual server. Now I can create more than one virtual server 1 and virtual server 2. Virtual server 1 is listening on 1.1.1.1 on port number 80. Virtual server, sorry? Yes, I am. Is that not visible still? Okay. Now I have virtual server 2 which is listening on, it could be a different IP, 2.2.2.2 on port 8. Is this clear? Now this F5 is connected to my public network. If somebody is trying to access atos.com who is connected to the internet, the traffic will be redirected to 1.1.1.1, right? If somebody is trying to access netlabs.in, then that request is going to be, means the domain name is going to be resolved to an IP address called as 2.2.2.2. Do I have to worry about the routing for this 1.1.1.1 and 2.2.2.2? It is not my responsibility. It is the responsibility of the service provider with whom I have leased this IP address, with whom I have paid the money for leasing these IP addresses. Now somehow via internet the traffic is going to be sent to me. If somebody is accessing, let's say one is connected over here, let's say he is 3.3.3.3. Now he is trying to access atos.com. What will happen? The source IP address will be 3.3.3.3 and the destination IP address will be 1.1.1. The service which is requested is TCP/80. Now the traffic will all the way travel through the internet. My F5 will be receiving the traffic on the public facing network or public facing interface. Now the F5 sees that the traffic is received for 1.1.1.1, then he will check, do I have any server, any virtual server listening on this particular IP address or not. If it is listening on any of the specific IP address, so the request is given to 1.1.1.1, now virtual server 1 is triggering that. You understand what I'm saying? The virtual server 1 is listening on 1.1.1.1 on port number 80. Now the F5 knows that, so I have to do something on that. Now the 1.1.1.1 or the virtual server 1 is pointing to the pool, called as what, atos.com. Now one of the server in this pool is going to be chosen, and then the request will be forwarded to the respective server. Is that clear? Is this clear or not? Hello, I'm hearing some sound, but I'm not hearing properly. Am I audible for you guys? Oh, okay, okay. Is there any question as of now? Mm. Mm. No, 3.3.3.3 is the source of the requester. To which IP they will be sending it, because they are trying to access ATOS, the name is going to be resolved to an IP address which is 1.1.1.1. Obviously, atos.com is the requesting domain name by this client, that atos.com is going to be resolved to an IP address, right? That's a basic functionality. Any site you access, that name is going to be resolved to an IP address. And what will be the source IP? The requester IP will be the source IP. In this case, the source IP is 3.3.3.3. What will be the destination IP? Atos.com's IP address will be the destination IP. In my case, Atos.com's IP address is 1.1.1.1. Okay. Now, if the request has been, somebody is trying to access netlabs.in, obviously the domain name is going to be resolved to 2.2.2.2. If not, the request will not come to me, right? So I need to make sure that the netlabs.in is pointing to 2.2.2.2, so that the request will come to 2.2.2.2, which is nothing but my external interface. The traffic will come. Now the F5 will check if there is any virtual server which is listening on 2.2.2.2 for TCP/80. Yes, I have it. That virtual server is pointing to a pool where I have multiple pool members. One of the member is going to be chosen, and then the request is going to be forwarded to the member. How it is going to be chosen, that is not our focus now. Now, how the traffic is flowing is what I'm trying to explain you. Do you understand what I'm saying? All can be done. All can be done. That's what the yesterday's discussion. Now, what we are not saying that FI LTM as an load balancer. It is an ADC, right? What is that ADC or what is that LTM? Local Traffic Manager, ADC, Application Delivery Controller. So we can control the traffic which is meant for the specific application based on certain criteria. Those are all entirely different part. See, what I'm saying is, you're trying to go for a new movie, and even before you go for it, you're asking for the climax. First, there will be a title card. Yeah, it's there, it's there. Possible. Yes, you have all those options. You can do all those things, but we may not be seeing in our syllabus, but it is possible. Okay. Now, the flow of this is understandable for you, right? Okay. I'm just clearing this whiteboard. I was going to be asking you certain things. Now, what is node? What is node? Perfect. What is a pool member? Then what is node? No, saying that set of physical servers are going to be added to the pool member. While we are adding, we will call the IP addresses alone. Pool member, this, correct. Node is simply IP address. Pool member is IP plus the port number. Now the pool member is going to be part of a pool. Correct? Is that clear or not? Okay. What is a virtual server? It is the listener IP address on which FI is listening for certain traffic, and then the traffic can be redirected to the pool. So FI should know that I have to handle this traffic. How does FI knows it? Because of this listener. That listener is what your virtual server. If no virtual server is configured, even if you have a node, pool member, pool, there is no point. You understand what I'm saying? The FI has to receive the traffic on one of its interface, then it has to identify, it has to be sent to one of the members in the pool. If that has to happen, then the FI device needs to listen to a specific IP and a service. Does this make sense? Okay. Any questions before I move on? Oh. Yes, please. I never said the IP address is going to be given on external interface. Did I say like that? It's a listener IP. Self IP and floating IP is different. That's IP that we configure on the interfaces. Whereas virtual server, I never said that IP address is going to be configured on the interfaces. Did I say like that? Okay. Now please continue with your discussion or the point. As I said earlier, it is a listener. When you have a NAT, are we binding that IP address to an interface? I have an ASA firewall, okay? The external interface has an IP address of 192.168.1.10, and we are doing a static NAT of 1.1.1.1 to 172.16.1.10. Did I configure this IP address on any of the interfaces? Hello, Guru, right? Then the same logic is what here also. Guru, did I answer your question? Sorry, I couldn't. I'm not very sure. Okay. Okay. I'm just proceeding with the basic set of configurations here, right? Now see this, again I'm logging in. I'm not sure what is going on. Okay, admin. Right, so I need a couple of servers here, right? So I need to build a basic setup. I need to have certain servers. Now I'm just going to be adding the servers here. Let me close all of these guys. I don't want these devices to be disturbing our discussions. Okay, just keeping. Okay. Right, now I need certain servers, right? I'm just going to be having a web server here. I already deployed it. I'm just need to add those servers into the VM so that I'll be able to start it up. The same servers I have shared with NetLabs, they have associated in that setup also. I'm just opening that VMs now. There's the downloads archive 2, and I'm just trying to identify this as a server. I have one server here, okay? It is added. Now I'm just adding the other servers as well. I have a blue web server. The colors are given for a specific reason. I'll tell you why it is what it has been done. Then green web server, and then red web server. Now, which of the interface is connected to my internal network from F5's perspective? 1.1, right? 1.1 is connecting to my internal VLAN. 1.1 is part of the VMnet 1. And this is just for your understanding how I'm providing the connectivity in this virtual environment. So my Ethernet 1 means 1.1 interface is my internal, 1.2 is my external, and 1.3 is my HA. This is what we have seen. You remember that or not? See, self IPs, you can see that internal is 10.1.1.1, external is 192.168.2.140, and HA is 10.1.10.1. Now, I am planning to connect my internal servers, the web servers, and which will be handling the traffic given to atos.com. Okay, so they're all the servers running with atos.com website. Let's assume like that. Now I need to identify them, I need to run them, right? They should be having the reachability. What I mean to say, this F5 device, the internal interface should be having reachability of my web servers, only then the load can be distributed across all of them. So what I'm trying to do is, and this is my VM, my web server is also a VM. I'm trying to make the connectivity between the web servers and my F5 LTM. Now this is 1.1 interface, and web servers are also having the interfaces. Now the 1.1 is connected to VMnet 1. Same way, if I connect my web servers also into VMnet 1, that means they're all connected to the same switch. And then if they are in the same IP segment, they could communicate with each other. Do you understand the point? Now, why am I explaining this one? If you wanted to build a setup on your own machine, you can do that one, right? And you should know how to provide the connectivity later on. I'm not talking about this training period. Even after 2-3 months, if you like to practice certain thing and you have a setup at your office and you want to replicate and you want to practice with that so that you will be very comfortable with your organization setup, then the troubleshooting will be so simple for you. That's the purpose of explaining all these things. So I have 4 web servers. My F5's internal interface is connected to VMnet 1, right? Can you see this one? VMnet 1, consider that as a switch number 1. Now I'm just going to be making sure that all of my web servers are also connected to the same VMnet. Now in this case it is connected to VMnet 3, but I wanted to connect them with VMnet 1. Server 1 is connected to VMnet 1. Same way I wanted to connect server 2 to the VMnet 1. I could have done even before we start the class because I wanted to show this one to you all. That's why I'm doing after the class. Means during the class. See here, this is VMnet 1. This is VMnet 1. Third server, I would like to connect it to VMnet 1. Then fourth server, I'm connecting to VMnet 1. Right. So we have done couple of things. What is that? Okay, let's see this here. I have 4 servers, web servers, and this is the one we are going to be using for throughout our class. Now this is server A, B, C and D. Now I have my LTM appliance. The internal interface is connected like what? 1.1, which is configured with the self IP of 10.1.1.2 and the floating IP of .1, and this is connected to VMnet 1. The servers are also connected to the same VMnet 1. Is that clear? Is that clear or not till this point? Okay. Even in physical environment, you have to have the physical server connected to the physical switch connected to the physical F5 device. It can be the same switch. It can also be through the router if it is a different segment. Servers no need to be in the same IP segment. As long as the LTM can reach the IP address of the servers, that can be added. It's where in the sense what? See, you would you be keeping your servers in LAN? The same LAN where the end users are sitting as well? It is a separate zone, right? We call them as a DMZ, something like that, or you might be having a dedicated server form. Okay. In that dedicated server form, you can position your F5 if you want, or you can also keep F5 in a separate zone and the servers in a separate zone. In that way, what happens here is, let's say this is the firewall I have, and this is where my LTM, right? Then the LTM will be having connectivity to the servers. Now the firewall will be allowing the traffic to the LTM. Now the LTM will be forwarding the traffic to the servers. These servers could be in the right. So the LTM could be in a position to reach the servers to forward the traffic to it. They could be in the same segment, and couple of servers might see, assume that you have two offices in Chennai or Bangalore, somewhere else, right? You have two offices, and you have couple of servers in office 1 and couple of servers in office 2. You can position your LTM in office 1 or office 2. As long as the rest of the servers are reachable, you can add them. So the firewall will be permitting the traffic to your LTM. Now the LTM will forward the traffic to the respective servers. Again, you can also do the internal interface can also be connected to the firewall. Now what happens, any traffic coming from your external world will go to the LTM. Now the LTM will forward the traffic, and that will also go through the firewall, so dual filtering will happen. But consider that this is going to be causing some delay. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Now the next point what I have to do is, the LTM should be in a position to reach all of these servers. Since they are all connected to the layer 2 switch, I need to make sure that they are on the same IP segment. Now I'm just making them as 10.1.1.10, 10.1.1.20, 10.1.1.30, 10.1.1. Any IP address should be in the same IP segment, that's all. I'm just taking the case of 10.1.1.10, 20, 30, 40. I need to make sure that, sorry, shall I stop and reset? Okay, let me leave and then join back once again. Is that visible now? I just written like the IP address what I would like to configure is 10.1.1.10, 10.1.1.20, 10.1.1.30, and 10.1.1.40. This is what I'm planning to do it. Okay, this is what 30 and 40. This is what I wanted to do it. So I have connected the servers to the same VMnet switch. Now I just need to make sure that their IP addresses are accordingly I have configured. Now I'm just going back to the server. See that I have a server. I am just turning it on. I copied it. These servers are running with 128 MB of RAM. Okay, that's all, nothing else is required. Username is VMware, password is also VMware, so that it will be simple for you guys. Now let me go and check it out. What is the IP address they have configured? I'm not sure why it is throwing this kind of an error. It's a resolution issue, I guess. It's not allowing me to move my mouse also. configure networking. I just need to make sure that root is the username. Now the Ethernet is 10.1.10.10, but whereas I would like to configure this as 10.1.10.10. My goodness. Not allowing me to, the mouse is not properly moving in this virtual environment. I don't know what is that going on. VMware, let me check it out. The same problem here also. The one thing what I can do is, okay, can turn on the others as well. Let me turn it on, then check it out whether the same thing is going on. This is 10.1.1.11. At least it is okay. 10.1.1.11, and let me try to ping 10.1.1.2. Yes, it is reachable. 10.1.1.1 is also reachable. Let me go and check it out the other servers as well. If that is doing good, then we may no need to worry about now. I'll fix that one after this class. Yep. Ping 10.1.1.2. Yes, it is reachable. 10.1.1.1. Yes, it is reachable. Maybe one server may not be responding. Let me see what is the problem on that later on. At least I have 3 servers now. It's not again. So I have 3 servers with me. One server is not responding for any of my mouse request and all. Means this is 10.1.20.10. That's what it is. I'll fix the other part of it later on. It is in 10.1.20.10. Let me change this IP addresses and all little later. But according to the current setup, I was planning to configure the IP addresses 10, 20, 30, 40. But unfortunately, it is not allowing me to change the IP addresses. So I'm just changing this one to, this is not 10.1.10, 10.1.1.20. It is 10.1.1.11. This is 10.1.1.12. This is 10.1.1.13. Is that clear? Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, this server is not available with me. Am I audible? Hello? Okay, fine then. So, this server alone, I'll fix it little later. Now, I'm just going to be working only with these 3 servers. Now, let me configure them. First of all, I just need to get into my local traffic, and then we know node, pools, virtual servers. Do we know about these 3 terminologies or not? Nodes, pools, virtual servers. Do we know about it or not? Okay. Now, first of all, I'm just calling the nodes. So I have a couple of ways to do it. See here, there are no nodes as of now. I can see there is something called as a create, with which I'll be able to create the node. I'll show you that one. My second server is, I think it is blue web server, third is green, and fourth one is yellow. Let's go and create that one. This name is going to be blue web server. You want anything, you can give the name. Now the IP address or the fully qualified name. Keep in mind, if you're planning to use the fully qualified domain name, your F5 device should be in a position to communicate with a DNS server, which could resolve that fully qualified domain name into a respective IP address. Now I don't have the DNS server with me, so 10.1.1.11, that's the IP address of it. Forget about this all part, we will come to that later. Do you understand what I'm doing here? See here, I'm just configuring, I'm just giving a name, and also I'm just giving an IP address for the web server. But the ratio, connection limit, connection rate limit, forget about all of them. I'm just saying what? Finished. When I say finished, this entry configuring a node got completed. When I say repeat, adding this node is going to be done, and another node will also be added. See here, repeat. See, it is asking us now the other server is green web server, and this is going to be identified by the IP address of 10.1.1.12. Then I'm just saying finished. So I have two web servers. I need to have one more web server. I can go ahead and create it here, or again node here. Can you see the plus symbol here? This is also one of the way of doing it. Can you see this plus symbol? If I click that plus symbol, it will be allowing me to do that one. It is going to be an yellow web server, the IP address of it 10.1.1.13. I'm just saying finished on this. Do you understand what I'm saying here? I just identified the nodes. According to my setup, I was planning to have 4 servers because one of the server was not allowing me to do the configurations due to the resolution issues. I will fix that one little later. So I have 3 servers, 10.1.1.11, 10.1.1.12 and 10.1.1.13, and this is being identified. Server B is being identified as blue, server C is being identified as green, and server server D is being identified as what? Yellow. Now let's say this is my blue server, this is my green server, and this is my yellow server. Okay? Is this point is clear till this point? So we are done with configuring the node. What is next? I have to create a pool. The pool is going to be populated with members. Now let me go there. Now I know where is this pool. I also have something called as this plus symbol to create the pool. Now the pool list is being created by creating button, by clicking the create button. What is the name that you wanted to give? I can give this as Ethos Web. That's the name I'm giving it. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? This is the name with which the pool is being identified. Now I need to add the pool members. Now forget about all these things. We will come to this later on. And now I'm just adding the members here. Now the node list already there. I'm just creating the node 10.1.1.11. The port number is going to be HTTP. I'm adding it. One of the pool member is added. So the pool member is nothing but the IP address and the servicing port. Same way 10.1.1.12 is my second server, then 10.1.1.13 is my third server. Is this clear? Any clarification is required? Guys? Finished. Now I have created the pool. So according to our requirement, node is done, pool is created, members are added. What is pending? Virtual server, which is a listener. Now let me go to this virtual server. I'm going to be creating a virtual server. Now the virtual server would require a name. Let me call this as Ethos VS. That's the name I'm giving it. Which of the IP address the listener has to listen to? I'll give it as 1.1.1.1. On which port it is going to be listening to? HTTP. So this is the IP my F5 LTM is listening, and this is the port on which my LTM is also listening. Forget about all these options. Okay, we will see one by one little later. Now the only thing I'm trying to do it here is, where is my, Can you see this something called as a default pool? I'm choosing the default pool. The pool what I have created has come up. Now what I have done while I'm creating the virtual server is I have given a name, then the IP address on which it is listening, and also the port number on which it is listening. The rest of the configuration I left it for default, and then I got into the default pool, identify the pool what I have created earlier. Say finish. Till this point is clear? Till this point is clear or not? Okay, finished. Now whatever the basic components required with which the F5 device can distribute the load to 3 servers is done. Now we need to confirm that whether the server or the LTM is receiving the traffic and distributing to the servers or not. So to do that one, I need to have a client PC. I'm just connecting it, which is connected to my external net. I'm going to be planning to connect this one to my external network. What I'm trying to do here is, I'm planning to connect a PC here, and then I will generate the traffic to 1.1.1.1. Exactly. Now the request will come to LTM. Now LTM sees that the request is coming to 1.1.1.1 on port 80. It will identify the virtual server. Then the pool will be identified. The members are going to be chosen. Do you understand that? Okay. Okay, now, yes, please. Mm. 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 I don't get you. Give me a minute. 1 minute. Let me finish this one and then come back to you. 1 minute, right? Okay. 192.168.1.150 255. I'm just giving the IP address of my gateway as 1.140. That's so somehow I should be sending the traffic to my F5 LTM device. ipconfig ping 192.168.1.140. Is that reachable? Oh my god, sorry, it is supposed to be 2, right? I made a mistake. It is not 1, it is 2. My external network is in 2 network. NAT mode ma. It's in NAT mode. My NAT is in 2 segment. Now, okay, now the reachability is there. All my problems solved. Now I'm going to be opening up my browser, checking whether do I have a Google or not. I don't have Google. Anyway, let me open up this. Just send it to 1.1.1.1. Check it out. You can see that the blue server is coming up, right? Now if I refresh it, I can see yellow is coming up, blue is coming up, green is also coming up. Can you see that? Is that visible for you guys? Okay. Now I'm coming to your question. Tell me, Guru, what is your question? Let me draw the diagram so that it will be easy for you. So I'm just rubbing this one, okay? Let me also... Okay. Okay, so as of now, the web service is running. So pool 1 we have created. That pool was called as what? Atos Web. Correct? Atos Web. Server 1, 10.1. Pool member 1, 10.1.1.11. Port number 80. 10.1.1.12 port number 80, 10.1.1.13 port number 80. Now you wanted to confirm that one more service is running on all these three servers, correct? FTP is also running. Now I'm just creating pool number 2, which is Atos FTP. Okay. So here the pool member is going to be 10.1.1.11 port 21, 10.1.1.12 port 21, 10.1.1.13 port 21. So what's the problem? No, I didn't get your question. I think I interrupted you in between. Still, it's not clear, Guru. What is that you're trying to ask? I have a virtual server 1. Okay. In that virtual server 1, I'm referring this pool. Okay. Now you're expecting one more virtual server, correct? Okay. In this virtual server 2. See, what is the identification of virtual server, Guru? It is an IP address plus port number, correct? How do you identify two port numbers in a single service or single virtual server? If you wanted to do this, that's why I asked you, create another virtual server which is also listening on the same IP address but a different port number. Call this pool into this. Right? It is also possible I can create one more virtual server 3, 1.1.1.1 on port number 8080. Again, the same Atos web can be called into it. See, the point is we need to have a listener. Listener will be listening on an IP address and a port number, and that is going to be pointing to a pool. Other than that, FI least bothered about who is the pool member. The same server can also be part of a different pool. For example, let's say pool 2, right? This is also a web server pool. I have a couple of servers like 10.1.1. 10.1.1.20, 21, 22. At the same time, I can also add 10.1.1.11. You cannot claim that 10.1.1.11 is already there part of one pool. Can't I call or can't I refer this in another pool? You can, because it's a web service. That's all right. Did I answer your question? Okay. Now, I'm just going to be clearing this whiteboard. Is that okay? Because I wanted to explain you something. Why this color differentiation I kept it. Okay. Now we know that we have multiple servers. Okay. All of them are hosted with the same website, which is atos.com. Right? Now, when I say that atos.com website is hosted in server 1, server 2 and server 3, when I send the traffic to server 1, can I see any differences from server 2 and server 3? The look and feel is going to be different. The same website is running on server 1 and server 2 and server 3. As a user, when he is accessing server 1, the home page will be different or the same like 2 and 3. How it will be? It will be identical, right? Now, as we are trying to understand the concept of traffic distribution, we need to know which of the server is connecting, correct? Are we connecting to server 1 or server 2 or server 3? But other than that, the content is going to be the same. So don't confuse yourself with, like when I try to browse through, I'm seeing what? Different colors. And this is confirming that the request is being forwarded to different servers in our pool. This is only for the learning purposes. When you go into production, you don't see any differences. Do you understand the point what I'm trying to get into? Okay. So the point one, what we need to understand, for our lab purposes, we are running multiple servers with a different color code to identify each and every web server. But in production, there wouldn't be any differentiation because all of the servers together servicing for their customers. Clear? Any questions as of now?